as the administration seems to hope, he can implement enough reforms to get through this moment. Is that realistic?
I don't think that's realistic. What could be realistic is that Mubarak himself becomes convinced, with outside advice, that it is in his interest as well as in Egypt's interest that he goes, and that he sets in motion a process which facilitates that. I think the alternatives otherwise are much tougher. Either the army cracks down and the populace increasingly turns to fundamentalism, radicalism in reaction to the crackdown, or the regime perpetuates itself and an explosion comes later and even more violent.
Okay. And it goes on from there. Notice how they fed the sounds of rioting and chanting. That reminds me of Chicago last week said to make everybody happier, they're going to put up broadcasting towers that play the sound of tweeting and singing and chirping birds. See, the mindset is we're creatures in a laboratory. We're creatures on a slide in a petri dish. And they're the social engineers manipulating us. But exactly as I said Sunday, once they began to admit that they were orchestrating this, the globalists, that they knew that there was a trigger coming for true freedom in Egypt. And so they sent their globalist stooge in with money and backing to go ahead and overthrow their old apprentice, their old puppet out, Count Dooku or Hosni Mubarak, and they're going to replace him with Darth Vader, Muhammad el-Baradi. If you want to use a Star Wars analogy. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons you should consider buying a solar power generator. Number 1, new climate legislation could easily double or triple your electric bill. Number 2, our new energy czar wants to control how much power your electric company allows you to have. It's true. Total government control of electricity in the name of smart grid technology is coming. Number 3, in some areas of the country, the power grid is dangerously overloaded. And now new socialist legislation is only compounding the problem. Number 4, dangerous weather is always a threat to local grids. Every year, thousands of families lose their power from weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365. Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As we're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
They have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel, hell-bent on destroying sovereignty, and on its ashes constructing world government.
Tim Geithner, Bernanke, they're arsonists. They're asking for more matches. And the Congress is saying, who do we make the check out to?
Today seems like nobody does care. And right now in Washington, D.C., we have seen a fall of the Republic.
Get your copy of Fall of the Republic on DVD at Infowars.com or watch it online right now in super high quality at prisonplanet.tv. Hi folks, this is Alex Jones and I want to tell you about the Silver Lungs generator. Now you can produce pure and endless colloidal silver and deliver the solution directly into the bloodstream by breathing the solution through the lungs. The respiratory system is the first line of defense for airborne pathogens and viruses. The Silver Lungs generator infuses the respiratory system with your self-produced nano-silver solutions and also delivers the silver nanoparticles instantly into the bloodstream. With continued legislation threatening the sale of nano-silver products, you can now produce pure and endless colloidal silver with the Silver Lungs generator. Very easy to follow step-by-step instructions are provided, making production fast and simple. Go to www.silverlungs.com today and learn more about the breakthrough technology of the Silver Lungs generator. That's www.silverlungs.com.
devastating globalist lies, exposing the mainstream media's propaganda machine, tirelessly waging war on corruption, from deep in the heart of FEMA Region 6 in Austin, Texas, transmitting worldwide, it's Alex Jones. If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
We see the Earth from here. It's a private banking cartel playing nations, races, religions off against each other. They then pose as the arbiter or the referee and the financiers to fix the crises that they create or that they energize. And so by Saturday and then by Sunday, it began to become completely, absolutely clear that the establishment knew that Egypt was on the edge of revolt because the IMF and World Bank in the last year had ordered them to institute austerity measures right at half their population making under $2 a day, many of their people starving or malnourished, the UN coming in saying they'd give them more money if they engaged in sterilization and abortion. That's been a big fight. And Hosni Mubarak could not, even though he's a dictator, he could not force that on the Egyptians. So the globalists have blocked Egypt from industrializing, which would have caused them to stop having as many children that the globalists think is so dangerous. And so while blocking their development, which then triggers larger populations in every case, then they come in and demand that the abortion and the other eugenics operations be carried out. And that's clearly one of the main reasons the UN has been critical of the regime in their 20 years of demands that they get busy killing their people like China has done. So extremely serious situation there. And so they know that the people were about to rebel and take their nation back. That's seen as radical. Can't actually have a Middle Eastern country run by the people. And so in comes this Mohammed El-Baradei, top globalist, top UN minion, top eugenicist, to carry out that operation. But then the U.S. has to tacitly approve of Hosni Mubarak so the population doesn't wake up to what's happening and actually give Mubarak support once they realize that that's the dictator now out of favor with the New World Order. And undoubtedly what they're about to get is going to be a lot worse. So the globalists put gas on the fire, fuel on the fire, accelerant on the blaze by making them cut the food allowances that, again, right at half the population is surviving on. And so you see millions of very lean people on the verge of starvation, malnutrition epidemic, hitting the streets for food. And don't worry, the man on the white horse arrives. Mohammed El-Baradei, he will save you. And the Muslim Brotherhood that I hear neocons talking about being radical Muslims that want to get us, admittedly run by British, Israeli, and U.S. intelligence, trying now to overthrow Saudi Arabia. Openly, the head of the Muslim Brotherhood saying they're going to overthrow Jordan, the big ally, because they don't want Jordan with factories and hotels and fighter jets and friendly royalty and an elite wearing Armani suits and, you know, women sipping Coca-Cola on the street corners at the cafes. They want them like Iraq, truck bombings, guys running around with, you know, hoods on their heads, screaming Allah Akbar, blowing up Shiites and Sunnis, killing each other. The grand chessboard. Destruction. You cannot serve the New World Order. You cannot lick their boots and have them leave you alone. Anyone who can stand, anyone who can tie their shoelaces is an enemy of the New World Order, including America. We're taught to have this lustful hate of the Muslims, while Western governments bring them in as fast as they can. While the tax-free foundations, Carnegie, Rockefeller, and other endowments, Ford, fund the radical Muslims, fund the liberation theology, fund the jihad, fund the takeover in the prisons, which are giant education centers for the Muslims to take over. They are creating that foreign enemy and then offering their solution. Just as they fund the Hispanic liberation, the black liberation, just as the FBI has been caught and the Southern Poverty Law Center and others running and infiltrating and controlling the white supremacist. And that's why the white supremacists, whether they know it or not, some of them are useful idiots at the bottom, hate this show so much because I call them out when it constantly gets revealed in lawsuits and court hearings that in every case, the commanders, the leaders of the Aryan nations, the commanders, the leaders of the white supremacist, of the Klan, of the Elohim city, of these marches through minority areas of cities, they're not infiltrated by feds, they are run by feds to make us fight with each other. Metcha, La Raza, Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nations, Hal Turner, all of it to get us at each other's throats while the new world order brings in its tyranny. It's called balkanization, divide and conquer. Now, I listened to local radio this morning, local AM, then I listened to local FM, then I listened to national AM, then I checked the news listings for about 3 hours, scanning back and forth, and I heard this big demonization of Hosni Mubarak because he did an internet kill switch and shut the web off. And certainly, I mean, what do you think a dictator now in his Hitlerian bunker, as Der Spiegel points out, surrounded on all sides, what do you think he's going to do? But none of them want to talk about the internet kill switch our government has already constructed and has already built. As Egypt goes offline, U.S. gets internet kill switch bill ready. The Age, Sydney Morning Herald. For some reason, the Australians are big on this. PC World, they're all reporting on it. Oh, but I don't hear those talk show hosts crying out against that. In fact, a lot of conservatives agree we need this because of Al-Qaeda, yes. And then they launch an attack on the web, say Al-Qaeda did it, shut the web down for a time, and when they roll out the new web, it's got all the controls in place that are already there. A nice false flag on our liberty, and they'll have the average liberal and conservative on talk radio, on TV, cheering, we're not going to let Al-Qaeda win. We've got a new unfree internet. That'll keep us safe. We've got to have this internet for commerce. As Egypt's government attempts to crack down on street protests by shutting down internet and mobile phone services, the U.S. is preparing to reintroduce a bill that could be used to shut down the internet. Yeah, I've got Lieberman, Jay Rockefeller, Obama all saying, while China's got it, we need to be able to shut the web off to protect it during a Chinese attack or an Al-Qaeda attack. Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Then they lie and say, oh, they can shut off red lights, oh, they can shut off respirators. None of that by law can be hooked into the internet. Oh, you can go up to a terminal on the side of the road and reprogram a sign if you've got the skills. One sign. You cannot, it's on its own network. It was initially introduced last year, but expired with the new Congress. Yeah, they say the terrorists are going to make the nuclear reactors go off. Really, when the U.S. and Israel made the Stuxnet 3 months ago, a spy had to put it in with a thumb drive into the computer and into every piece of equipment that was separated. Globalist spies had to load it directly in because it wasn't hooked to the internet, even in Iran. Oh, but then our media said, oh, we've got to give up our internet freedom and have the kill switch because of Stuxnet. That happened right as they were lobbying to pass it. And then they later admit our own government with Israel launches the Stuxnet that bounces back on our countries in the West, and then they have no shame